In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, me and my brother James, we are going to talk about Arizona freshman Carter Bryant. And the question is simple. Should he stay or should he go? Should Carter Bryant return to school or should he go to the NBA draft? James and I, we're going to share our thoughts. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. And in this case, it could be your second listen of the day because I just dropped an episode where Kristen Peak interviewed 5 prospects that I believe we're going to talk a lot about in the 2026 NBA draft. But in this episode, we're going to talk about Carter Bryant. Maybe he's 2026 or maybe he's 2025. We're going to share our thoughts on what we think he should do. But before we get into this episode, I have to talk to you about the Locked On newsletter. Check it out at lockedondaily.com. The playoffs are around the corner, but if your team didn't make it to the playoffs, it is draft season. So check it out, lockedondaily.com. It is your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage, delivered right to your inbox every single day. And if you are not subscribed to the Locked On NBA Big Boy YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment, click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode. I have this ridiculous goal of doing 2 episodes a day for the remainder of the month. It may be May, it may be June. It's draft season, like I mentioned. It is time to put the pedal to the metal and provide you with a lot of draft content because it is go time. And while I'm thinking of different episodes and content, like one of the first things that came to my mind is when I look at this draft class, it seems like it is thinning out. There are a lot of guys who have chose to return to school because the NIL money is big. And so I got my brother James on. We're going to talk about Carter Bryant. I think he's one of the guys that's in that mix that is on the fence, at least to my knowledge. He's on the fence between staying in school or going to the NBA draft. Now, there are cases every year where there are guys who know that they're not coming back to school, but they like to delay the announcement to make it seem like it's a decision. But in this case, NIL changes a lot. It changes things a lot because the money that is going around is absolutely crazy. But anyway, let's start off with your thoughts on Carter Bryant, James. Give me a rundown on Carter Bryant as a prospect. Because I know at one point you were like, I see the vision. So I need to hear the vision.
Well, I still see the vision. You know, Carter Bryant, to me, he looks like an athletic glue guy. Free throw percentage is a little low, but he did end up shooting, I believe, 37% from 3 on the season. He's going to pass the eye test. Broad shoulders, good frame, very good athlete, and he can handle a little bit. At least he showed some handle at the EYBL level. But he's somebody that's going to pass the eye test when he does decide, if he does decide to declare early test, and he's going to get workouts. I think he's going to look really good in workouts. It's just a matter of what translates. What do you think he'll be able to do at the next level? And again, at first I was like, I don't know. And then as I watched it more, I saw it. I do think he did have an opportunity to play well against Duke and not say play well. I thought he did play well against Duke. I thought he had an opportunity to improve his draft stock against Duke, but I don't think he did anything to move the needle in particular. But he's a talented 6'8" forward, and if you're 6'8", you're athletic, and you can shoot and play defense, there's a role for you in the NBA.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The positional size is what is the main appeal, in my opinion, listed at 6'8", 220 or 225. On paper, he averaged 6.5 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, but he shot 46% from the floor, shot 37% from 3 on a little under 3 attempts per game, which is, that's very encouraging. And he just shot 69.5% from the foul line on 1.6 attempts per game. So coming into this season, my scouting report on Carter Bryant was he was a good athlete with good NBA positional size, has a reported 7-foot plus wingspan, if you look at his body is mature and ready. He's not one of these skinny guys that needs to develop. His body looks like he's ready to come in and play and at least defend on the NBA level. This offensive game, I put that he can handle the ball some. He likes to shoot over the top of smaller defenders, loves the mid-range jumper. With his size and athleticism, is the modern NBA combo forward, the guy that can play some three or some floor, and he just fits the bill as your NBA complementary 3-4. I have that he is a guy that has really good defensive instincts. He's a good transition finisher. He's an efficient finisher around the rim, and he has some upside as a ball mover. So again, this is my preseason scouting report. My questions or concerns were, is he one and done? Which, that is why we're here today. Is he one and done? I mentioned that I didn't see him as a player that was going to get a lot of minutes for Arizona. I thought he was going to come off the bench. I thought that some of his dominance in high school was due to his elite physical tools. He was just bigger, stronger, faster than everyone. I had some concerns about the three-point shooting, and they've been addressed because, like I said, he shot 37% from three. But I wanted to see what more does he have on the offensive end. Does he have more game? How is he going to score in the half court? And that's still a question and concern that I have today. So my question for you, James, is how does Carter Bryant score in the half court? I know he's a good cutter, and I know he's an efficient shooter, but am I really buying the shooting numbers? That's the question I have. Are you buying the shooting numbers?
I'm buying the shooting numbers because I too had questions about the shooting numbers, and I've mentioned it on another podcast with you, and I know I did it with Leaf. It's like, what's the difference? I asked, what was the difference between Carter Bryant and Patrick Williams? So again, if you look at Patrick Williams coming out of Florida State, young for his class, checked all the physical toolboxes, athletic, defended, this, that, Kawhi Leonard clone. And I guess the biggest reason why I guess you could say he has struggled is the shooting. It just hasn't progressed like you thought it would. And he's struggling to be a role player because, he just doesn't have the volume. He won't get the volume to produce at the potential all-star level. But with that being said, I did wonder, can Carter Bryant really shoot? Because, like I mentioned before, 70%, sub 70% at the foul line. But in EYBL, he shot 39% on catch and shoot jumpers, and he shot 58% unguarded. And this year at Arizona, he was 50%, again, unguarded on a low volume of attempts. And he also shot 38%. On catch and shoot opportunity. So I do think that he is at least a league average shooter in a situation. Now, depending on if he becomes more than a league average shooter, that remains to be seen. But I do think he has good shooting indicators. So I am buying the jump shot potential.
What are your concerns?
He just kind of with all the tools, and I get it, he's projecting to be a role player. But with all the tools, if he's not making jump shots, how else does he contribute on the offensive end? And for as good of a defender as he is he a lockdown defender? Is he a top 7 player in the NBA, top 7 player on your team rotation guy? How soon is that going to, happen? And I just think he's limited off the bounce, even with those athletic tools of him being 6'8", 220, even at the high school level, it was a lot of contested jump shots. And it wasn't a really advanced handle or advanced shot creation. And again, maybe that's just my personal bias because I'm not a big 3-and-D guy. But, even at Arizona in limited minutes, it was catch a shoot shot or cutting dunk. And again, I know simplify the game. I get it. But, it just depends on where you see him in your draft range. Because, again, if he's not making jump shots, what else does he do?
Yep. Yeah, the first time I saw him in person, I thought he did a phenomenal job guarding Trey Johnson. It was a tournament here in Dallas where Cooper Flagg was in the tournament, Trey. And I remember watching Trey have a game where they played a team that wasn't good. And Trey dominated the game with his passing. and he just kind of got his points at will. And then there was a Cooper Flag game where he played against Drive Nation, and he absolutely dominated. So then the next matchup was Trey Johnson versus Carter Bryant, and I knew Trey had to score in order to win that game. I felt like the first game they played, he was like conserving his energy, saving it because he knew that he had a big matchup against Carter Bryant. And in that matchup, I would say Carter got the best of him. He just made life tough for Trey. And for Trey, the guy that is a gifted scorer who's been able to like score. I mean, we saw what he did in the SEC. He did have some struggles against Carter Bryant due to the strength and physicality. And Carter didn't really have to do much on offense. Like you could tell the game plan was you got to lock Trey up. All right, Up next, we're going to talk about if Carter did enough. James and I were going to share our thoughts on if he did enough to be a first-round pick. And also, I mean, we got to talk about it, how NIL could be a major impact in his decision. Let's talk about open phone, because if you are running a business, you know that every time you miss a call, it is like leaving potential money on the table. And that is why you need open phone. Open phone is the #1 business phone system that is designed to streamline and scale your customer communications all through an app on your phone or through your computer. You don't have to carry 2 phones. And with open phone, you can manage your business calls and your texts, again, in one app. So whether you are at your desk or on the go, it has AI call transcripts and summaries that will save you time on follow-ups, and it will also ensure that you don't lose track of customer interaction. So OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone, OpenPhone. And if you are switching to another service, OpenPhone will even port your existing numbers at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. I have a question. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console is required. Just grab your paired controller. Subscribers sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA included, and you are ready to play. So you can dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 2025, my favorite game. Wish I had more time to play it, to Call of Duty Black Ops. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, is gaming made simple, and it is all on your Fire TV. It has the latest technology, Wi-Fi 6, 6E, and auto-low lateness mode advanced technology. Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning-fast speeds that you need to stay competitive. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed devices or services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. It is affordable and portable. So like I said, you can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. So head to Amazon.com, Fire TV Locked On to get started. All right, second segment. Like I mentioned, Carter Bryant, 6 points, 4 rebounds. The numbers aren't going to wow you and pop out, but the key in this is upside. Like, not who he is today, but who he can be in the NBA. He has the physical tools that teams like and so on. But my question is, do you think he did enough? And it's a question that I struggle with because I could see him going first round. The draft is kind of thinning out because guys are opting to return to school and the money's a big factor. I could see him as someone that goes in the first round. Could he possibly make more money if he returned to school? Possibly. I think it's a real possibility. I mean, not saying that he's JT Toppin, but JT Toppin got $4 million. And $4 million, if he gets all the $4 million, and you know, Texas Tech is a school that I've heard that it wasn't a struggle coming up with the bread. $4 million is the equivalent to what the 13th pick would make in the 2025 NBA draft. So with that being said, has Carter Bryant done enough, in your opinion, to be a first round pick? But just because you're a first round pick, it could also mean that you're leaving money on the table by returning to school in some cases. But has he done enough to be a first-round pick?
That is a tough question. If you base it off of production, I guess not. But it's tricky, man. Like we saw AJ Johnson get drafted in the first round last year,
Yep.
and his production was low and it wasn't even efficient. And it
Yep.
was just based off of, what? I see a few things on film. I know it doesn't look good when I run the numbers, but eventually I think he could be something. But this is a different kind of player. We're talking about a low usage role player who you look at it and you say 6 points, 4 rebounds. You're definitely not drafting him first round based off of that. But do you believe that he is the kind of defender and can be the kind of shooter where it makes up for, the lack of production? Again, he's still young for his or just for an NBA talk in general, like he's a freshman in college. So, do I think he's done enough? I think you got to test. I think that he's going to shoot the ball well in workouts. I think he'll handle the ball well enough in workouts. And I think you're going to look at a GM is going to look at him and say, you know what? We're going to roll the dice and understand that worst case scenario, if he's a league average shooter with the defensive upside and the defensive tools that he has, we could take him in the top 20.
Yeah, one of the things that I've heard consistently from NBA scouts that I talk to, and they're saying we're looking for a guy that we can put on the floor, and these are like playoff teams. We're looking for a guy that we can put on the floor, whether it's 5 to 10 minutes a game or 15 minutes per game. That if we need him to guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he can at least make it challenging for him. And whether it's, pretty much it's all been playoff teams that I've been talking to when they're like I say this much. The teams that are in the lottery are looking for the most talented guy. They're looking for someone that can, maybe change the fortune of their franchise. Teams that are in the playoffs are like, we have that guy, but we want to know, can this guy come in and contribute? Can he play a role for us right now to help us win games? And the common thing is, I need a defender. Can he guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Can I put him in a situation where he can muck things up, kind of dirty the game up, and play a role for us and knock down open shots? And Carter Bryant is one of the guys that playoff teams are looking for, saying like, can this rookie help slow down one of these wings, right? But then you want to know, does he have enough offense? And I've mentioned it before, so if you've heard it, then, just bear with me. But I had a scout tell me, and I was cracking up. He said, I'm scared of him because he's going to come into the workout. Our GM, who hasn't really been watching or following college basketball until late, who's been, working on improving the NBA roster, trade deadline, yada, 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 is going to see this kid walk into the gym. He's going to see his body. He's going to see the physical tools. He's going to hear he interviews well, and he's going to see that he knocks down open shots, and our GM is going to overvalue him. Like, I don't want him coming into our gym. This is what a scout had mentioned to me. I can see that happening. I
100% agree. And like I said, he's going to walk in the gym. He's going to take his shirt off. You're going to see the muscles. He's going to shoot well. Ball is going to look like he's going to handle the ball well enough to be like, you know what? In a couple years, he could do this. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to handle the ball well enough for you to say, okay, right now he should be able to at least attack a closeout. But again, it's just the volume isn't there. And I know the minutes were sporadic, but like you said, it's going to be tricky. And I could honestly see a team, especially with the new CBA, you got to hit on guys who are going to be impactful sooner than later just because of the way the money is. I can see an opportunity or a situation where he's the top 20 pick and somebody says, man, just knock down open shots and defend, and anything else is just bonus for us.
Yeah, he falls in between Patrick Williams and Peyton Watson to me. Patrick Williams, I mean, he was the fourth pick?
Yeah.
He came off the bench. Everyone was intrigued by the physical tools, the size, and how young he was. He was like 17 years old as a freshman. Peyton Watson was highly touted coming out of Long Beach Poly, went to UCLA, got caught up in some politics there, couple guys that I think Johnny Juzang and Jaime Jaquez returned to school, and Peyton Watson didn't play a lot. Comes off the bench, still ends up being a first round pick due to the physical tools and basically the pre-college resume. And now he's a rotation player for the Nuggets. So I think Carter Bryant falls somewhere in between, which in most cases, first round pick, absolute no brainer. But this NIL thing is tricky. And here are some numbers that I've seen. Projected elite guys, this is coming from Jeff Goodman. Projected elite guys can make 2.5 to 4 million in NIL. All league players 1.5 to 2.5 million. Starters, starters, if you're just a starter at a Power 5 school, he says that your value is 500K to 1.5 million. If you're a bench player, 200K to 700,000. So with that being said, if Carter Bryant doesn't have like a guarantee or a lock to be a top 30 pick, he can return to school, and I think he falls into that 2.5 to $4 million range.
Based off of what though? Because he started 5 out of 37 games for Arizona, and he averaged 6 and 4. And again, the 3-ball, they went in, right? But it's on a low volume. So I get what you're saying, but I mean, if that's the scale, quote unquote, what has he done to be like, we'll give him $2 million? And again, I know a coach will do it because whatever, you think that you can turn something from whatever into whatever. But I see why the appeal for NIL for him, but at the same time, like, you can almost question what has he done to deserve that much money, just like you can question what has he done to deserve being a top 30 pick as well.
Well, you're expecting a sophomore bump. KJ Lewis is at Georgetown. Caleb Love, who held the ball a lot, is gone. Henry Vasar is gone. So you're going to expect the sophomore bump.
Braden Berry's a 5-star recruit, McDonald's All-American. He just committed. And they got Koa Pete. He's another 5-star recruit, McDonald's All-American. Koa Pete is a 6'8" 6'8" ball handling 4. Braden Berry's is about his buckets. So if he does decide to return to Arizona, what is different about his role? It probably increases because he is older and experienced, but he's still going to be playing alongside 2 guys who are going to look to handle and score. So it's like, going back to Arizona, does he get to improve on some of the skills that he had in high school, or do you just go somewhere else? And we've seen that so guys that go somewhere else, it always doesn't work out for you. Yeah. So it's like, I kind of feel like his stock is high off of just a little bit of what we've seen. High enough for him to test, and maybe high enough for him to go top 30, especially when you got guys going back to school to get paid. So it's like, I don't know what decision he makes is what I'm trying to say.
Well, you got to figure it out, because in the last segment, we are coming up with a concrete answer in the last segment. Should he make the jump or should he return to school? I think for him, with those guys coming in, I think it actually helps him in a sense, because he's, at least in my opinion, and maybe he has more game than he's been able to show, but he's not the type of guy that I think needed to go to Arizona where the cupboard is empty and now he's asked to score 20 points a game, because I don't think that's his role in the NBA. I think for him, he needs a bigger role. He needs to knock down open shots, and he needs to show that he can defend, be a transition finisher and cutter. And the question is, if he doubles his numbers for next year, 12 points, 8 rebounds, let's say 36% from 3, 50% from the floor, could he be a lottery pick while making 2-3 million a year and got better and returned to school? All right, up next, we're going to try to answer that question, and we are going to share our thoughts on what we think he should do. Should Carter Bryant stay in school, or should he go to the big leagues? Have you had issues with underwear, whether it's the fit, the comfort, or just finding the right style? Well, Skims has changed all of that. Their men's line offers something for everyone from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. There are plenty of reviews coming out from Skims customers. Here's one guy. He says, as you know, I work out 5 days a week, but I've never liked wearing that synthetic feeling, quote unquote, workout underwear, especially when I'm done at the gym. When I tried Skims stretch boxer briefs, it felt like I found the missing link. They give me all the movement I need for working out without feeling like I'm walking around wearing gym clothes the rest of the day. Plus, they never lose their shape or ride up. And maybe it's in my head, but I swear, since I started wearing these, my gains have improved too. This is a customer testimonial about the Stretch 5 boxer brief. And if you want to have your own personal testimonials about Skims, check them out. Skims.com/locked-on-NBA. And also you can check them out at Skims stores. But you have to let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show, Locked On NBA Big Board, in the drop-down menu that follows. So again, check it out at skims.com/locked-on-NBA, or you can go to the Skims stores. All right, last segment. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot because I'm the older brother, and that's just what I do.
All right, man.
Here you go.
Disclaimer first. I'm 40. Nobody's offering me that kind of money to make that life decision. I got a few people relying on me, but we understand what's coming in and out of the house. With that being said, the NIL thing is tricky to me. I'm gonna wrap this up, Ralph. It's tricky to me because as a kid, you spend your whole life saying, I want to get to the NBA. And I get it. They're dangling the money in front of you. Sometimes life-changing money. But my thinking is, and I'm telling Carter Bryant to go. I'm telling him to go because you can roll the dice, go back to school, get some guaranteed money, right? And then see how it goes from there. Now, if you come back and you average 9 and 4 again, and you shoot 32% from three, yes, you made more money in the short term than you did in the long term by testing. If you test, a team likes you, you get to sign a nice 3-year guaranteed deal. Let's say it's a 3-year. If he's a 20th pick off the top of my head, let's say 3 years, $10 million. You get to develop on NBA time. It's guaranteed money. And you have a team that's invested in you. And you get to fulfill your childhood dreams. I am leaving, and I am going to figure it out from there. I have too many great measurables, and I trust the work that I've put in. I'm not going back to school. I'm not risking my stock. It's already at a good spot right now, and I can cash in on being a 3-and-D guy and get better from there.
All right. And for me, it's like I'm on the fence. Like, I'm talking.
Get off the fence, Rob.
Straddling the fence because I want to see him be more productive. One of my blind spots, as far as, and maybe it's not a blind spot, but sometimes it is. But one of my blind spots, I think, in evaluating is I really value production. Like, I was totally against the Peyton Watson pick. I'm like, how do you average 3 points per game? But here's the thing. I was against Peyton Watson, and I was adamant about Patrick Baldwin not being a first-round pick. 50-50. One I was totally wrong about, one I was right about, but they both were first-round picks.
But it's really always 50-50. Like, big production doesn't always translate. I mean, I remember once upon a time, I was like, what's my man's name? Was at Boston College? James Robinson? Not James Robinson. The Clippers drafted him 13th.
Jerome Robinson.
Jerome Robinson. He was productive. He shot the ball well, and he was a scorer. And again, they took him in the lottery, and I thought
he went ahead of Michael Porter Jr., if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. And it was like, you know what? He can shoot. I think he could be Evan Fournier light. And he's not in the league, and he's had several opportunities to, show he could play. He just it never worked out for him. And like you said, you mentioned Peyton Watson. He's a rotation guy for a team with championship aspirations, and he still can't shoot. So it's like, I get the NIL, but it's like sometimes you just gotta go.
Yep. So I've come up with my decision.
Did I push you off the fence?
I don't know. I'm coming up with my decision. We're running out of time. I have to make a choice here. If I'm representing him, I'm saying go. Your name is hot. Yes, the production wasn't the best, but all NBA scouts see is the 6'8", 225, 37% from three.
And that's what you're projected to do.
And that's what you're projected to do. You're hot right now. Let's get the 3 years guaranteed if you're a first-round pick. However, I would present to him that I think, especially if I'm representing him, I think that if you shoot 37% next year and you average 13 and 8, you could be a top 10 pick. You could be a top 10 pick, and you could make more money in the draft on top of making $2.5 to $3 million prior to the NBA.
So what decision did you make, Rob?
Oh, the decision I would say is go. You're hot right now. You wanted to be a first round pick. That's what you went to school for. The way the draft is thinning out, and the more and more, some of these schools are offering bigger NIL deals, the more guys are going to stay because they're fringe guys, and all that's going to do is bump you up. And then I would look at some of the wings in this class, like his competition at the wing in the first round. Cam Jones, who's a little older. Somebody may go with the upside over right now. Neek Clifford, somebody may say, you know what? I know Neek is better right now, but I'm going to go upside because there are multiple teams picking late in the first round that are rebuilding teams. Like the Nets have like 3 picks from 20 through 27. So that would be a big factor. I'm avoiding Oklahoma City.
At all costs.
We're not going to that workout because I don't see a path for playing time there.
That's when you go back to school.
I'm looking at Atlanta. As of now, they got like the 22nd pick. They're going to want wings that can shoot and defend. So with the 3 picks in Brooklyn, the Wizards having a pick at 19, those are the teams that I'm eyeing and identifying. Phoenix at 29. Those are teams that I'm eyeing and identifying as potential landing spots. So even if he falls down to like 29, the Arizona ties could help him out in securing him and locking the first round. So I would tell Carter Bryant, hey, the draft is thinning out. We got some really good landing spots, some rebuilding teams picking late in the first round. And if you even fall that far, that I think are some safe spots for you, pack your bags, leave Tucson. We are headed to the league.
Got to follow your dreams, man. This is not personal advice.
But sometimes guys have followed their dreams and they they weren't ready. And that's the key thing. Like sometimes I put it like this. I don't think a lot of guys fail in the NBA because they don't have the talent to make it.
It's opportunity, man.
Opportunity, and are you ready to handle it? Like I go to NBA games, I see the rookies that aren't playing. I see that their games are at 3:00 where they're playing 2-on-2 and 3-on-3 and so on, and they're working out, and then they just don't play. Like they know they're not playing, and some guys just struggle with handling it, especially if you look nowadays. You look at like your peers who are in college, living their best life, living the college life, driving the same cars that you got, making the same money you got. You're not playing, they're playing on TV, and some guys like feel forgotten. So I think like how well guys handle being pros, and we're talking about you have to handle being a professional at like 18 years old. Like, that's most people. I was in college, man. My friends at 19 were wilding out with like $9 in their bank account. So there's multiple things to factor. But with that being said, I think Carter Bryant should go because the draft is thinning out. And like I said, I think there's some really safe landing spots. Well, let us know what you think. Let us know, should Carter Bryant stay or should he go? Once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Check out the Locked On newsletter at lockedondaily.com and subscribe because we have more content coming for you. We're probably going to do some more. Should he stay or should he go? Because the players have a little bit of time left and some guys are going to wait to the last minute. Anyway, once again, it's Rafael and James, and we are out of here.